Greetings, ladies and gents. That's right. We are back. It is the H Cast, your favorite podcast. And we have almost everybody here. You'll probably notice a significant absence. Mr. H is not here today, but we are all prepared.
Why are we here if Mr. H ain't here?
Well, because he wanted me to run the show today.
Oh, we're doomed.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun. And what's going to be amazing about this is we have all the stories that Mr. H wanted us to run. We've got wonderful stingers, and we've got you. You are here to see your most favorite podcast. And of course, we have an incredible team here as well, and maybe some others, some unexpected guests may pop in here a little later. And we've got some breaking news and some rumors. We've got some Star Wars stuff that maybe you haven't heard about. We've got some Halloween type stuff that we may not have heard about, and we definitely have some James Gunn stuff. Bond, we're going to be talking about an awful lot of things, but as you all know, and I'll do the same thing that Nate does every single show, I'll remind you that this entire show is not monetizable, probably because Tom's on it, which means that we're sponsored by you. We need your support. So if you have a question, if you have a thought, if you have anything you'd like to contribute to the show, go ahead and send a super chat. If you're a member, just remember that you're a member and that you also get essentially a super chat for free every single month. So if you haven't used that up, feel free to do that as well. We're keeping track of that. And we are underway. So let's talk first with the amazing cast that we have here today. Let's start first with Mr. Tom Connors. He works for Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark and Midnight's Edge Archives and Mead Radio 1 and 2 and Midnight Snacks, right, Tom?
There's still no Midnight Snacks.
Why is there no Midnight Snacks?
Well, we're working on it, I guess.
No, because Tom is going on a diet. That's why.
Oh, so no Midnight Snacks.
So maybe we'll have a Midnight's Edge Get Fit or something. But yeah.
Well, yeah, Tom needs to get fit indeed, but you know what? He's looking a little more svelte.
I am fitting whatever I can in my mouth.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we got so that was Tom. Well, great introduction. And of course, we have the amazing Andre, who is he's the boss man. Technically, he is Midnight's Edge, and he's found often there and many other places. How are you this lovely day, Andre?
I'm doing excellent. I'm very excited for this stream because now the inmates are running the asylum, so this is going to be awesome.
I think we'll be just fine. I
know we will. I say that completely unironically. If there's, I just want to say that of all the people here, you were the one he chose to run the stream in his absence. So kudos.
Well,
he made the right choice, of course.
Oh, I think I hoodwinked him good. But look, we do have a ton of stuff to offer today, and we've already got some fan funding in. We'll bring Nick into the conversation here in just a second. But Pilgrim Media sent us a $2 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Says Tom, consider tapas or dim sum. Dim sum. That sound good, Tom? Dim sum.
Those words.
Yeah, dim sum's a soup. Sounds
like it's made up.
It's not. And Pilgrim
Media. I'm gonna get some
of
this. Gonna get some of that.
Pilgrim Media is healthy. He's healthy, and he takes care of himself. And dim sum's good. But thank you very much, Pilgrim Media, for your contribution to the show. We've got Horseradish Power utilizing a 30-month, holy cow, a 30-month member chat here. Says, for me, the biggest news today is the start of pre-orders for the Raspberry Pi 5. Well, there you go. Hopefully mine will arrive in time for me to use it for NaNoWriMo. Well, there you go. Yeah, and Raspberry Pi is kind of a microcomputer that you can utilize to do a lot of different things depending upon if you have shields. And although this is not tech talk, it's
the beauty with it is that it actually trains you to be better at computers, because the whole point is that you're going to customize it and adapt it to whatever you want to do with it. You know what you can even do with the Raspberry Pi? You can make your own retro game console and put it into a custom Sega Mega Drive casing. How awesome is that?
I think that's amazing, but I also think it's cool that you can turn it into an amazing firewall, amongst other things. There's a lot of flexibility with it. So Andre speaks the truth.
Yeah, and if all else fails, it also does very well on the place, but that's a last resort.
Hey, it can actually, you can actually turn it into a media server if you have a NAS available. So it's very, very
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and as people are noticing in the chat, many others are mentioning, yes, we did lose Michael Gambon today, the actor that took over playing Harry Potter, amongst many other things. He just quite a celebrated actor. So
Dumbledore, you mean, not Harry Potter?
Excuse me, yes, Dumbledore. Thank you, Tom. Very good. I'm already being corrected, so we're off to a great start. Anyway, I apologize because we still have not introduced Nick from Nick's Talks Entertainment and Echo Base Network, or EBN. And I wonder if he's there. Are you there, Nick? Are you dead?
Hey, I'm putting away groceries.
Yeah, Nick's dead. Nick's dead. He'll be back.
Probably hasn't gotten over all the flack they got for not sufficiently disliking the previous episode of the
or liking it enough.
Oh, we're gonna get to that.
They can't win or lose.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get to that. And look at all of these look at all these wonderful folks in the chat. We are underway, and again, I will mention one more time that we are fan funded here. The HCast, your favorite podcast, twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You guys are the reason that we keep going, and Nate is Nate's very grateful, and so are we all. Where do you guys want to start today? Are you feeling, or do you feel like you want to talk about Marvel? What about DC maybe? Star Wars?
What's so bad is that all of those things should be exciting to talk about, but for some reason they all send like shivers down my spine.
Yeah,
not in a good way.
Yeah, well,
but maybe while we wait for Nick to return from the dead sufficiently, we can start with some Marvel talk, because I don't know what you have on the docket there, but WDW Pro, he broke the scoop that for the Fantastic Four reboot, they just might be going in a very female-centric direction. It's going to be the Sue Storm show, because and they also apparently, according to WDW Pro, they're having a hard time casting Reed Richards because he is written to be so utterly unlikable, so that this really truly can be the Sue Storm show. The audience apparently have to feel
you would expect any less,
so much that you can't like him.
Well, I have to say that I'm not surprised that they would head in that direction, Andre, and I wish I had access to that article, because that was unfortunately not something that made the radar for today's show.
It's not an article; it's a video.
Oh, really? Oh, so
yeah,
he dropped
so
a video today. Wonderful.
Yeah,
well
it was yesterday actually.
Oh,
he dropped it yesterday. So the and what he also dropped was that apparently, and this is according to WDW Pro, they are still very big on ESG and representation and stuff like that in Disney, because what we've seen, the upcoming Deadpool Part 3, that apparently is going to be cool. Remember, this was a Chapek greenlit project. That one is going to be cool, but only for the first trailer will they allow it to have only Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in it, two problematic white males. So that's only okay for the first trailer, because they need to do a bait and switch here. But in order to do the switch, they first have to do the bait. So that's based on his reporting, presumably the last time that you can have like just two white male leads like that in the movie. Just to make up for it, they're going to travel the multiverse. There's going to be a ton of female Wolverines and black Wolverines and sexually diverse Wolverines and stuff like that, just to make up for there being two problematic white males in the lead. And this theme apparently is going to continue in the later Marvel movies as well. There's still going to have to be some diversity. Of course, there was going to be anyway. But what I mean is that there is still this feeling that you can't have too many white leads and you cannot have too many straight couples. And if you do, you have to make up for it. Like, for instance, this is also something that was broken by WDW Pro. The original pitch for Obi-Wan Kenobi was obviously going to be heavy on Obi-Wan. It's one is going to be heavy on Darth, and it was going to be heavy on Luke. But that's 3 white males. Can't have
Oh.
that. Which is why it was like internally mandated from like their Reimagine Tomorrow ESG department or something. That no, we need another black female character forced in there just to break up this white triumvirate, which is why Luke had to go to a cameo in the background. They brought in Leia, who couldn't run, and the real star of the show was, I never remember this character's name. You know, the one that started the tradition of, yeah, you can take a lightsaber to the gut and walk away from it. What's her face again?
Sabine?
No.
The Inquisitor lady. Hang on,
Yes,
I don't
the
remember.
Inquisitor lady.
Riva.
Riva, yes, exactly. There we go. So
He's
that apparently
alive.
he was forced into that show right there, so that they could meet like their diversity brownie points. And that school of thought apparently is still prevalent in the future of Marvel, according to WGA Pro.
Well, I wish, like I said, I wish we had a way to present that. That sounds really disappointing, depressing, and otherwise quite dour. But we have something that's not dour here. Finally, Nick is not dead anymore, folks. We have Nick.
No, I'm here.
Nick Talks Entertainment and Echo Base Network, or maybe it's just EBN now. I don't know. But how's it going, Nick?
It's going. Freaking Ahsoka. Good Lord. It's terrible. But one episode left next week. We'll finally be done with it. And I'm ready to move on to other things on our channel. I'm literally Star Wars'd out.
Well, I know that you're going to be kind of keen on this news, and something that our friends over at Bounding Into Comics was rather revelatory. There's a rumor out there that seems to continually be reinforced by other parties that I think we all want to discuss. So and it's Star Wars, because I know you love Star Wars, Nick. You love modern Star Wars.
I love Star Wars. It's my favorite IP, in the world. But Disney Star Wars is not real Star Wars. Yeah. So,
well, we'll see. But I will jump on the super chats right when we wrap this particular story up, folks. So just hang on just a moment. I see them coming in. Thank you for the fan funding. And well, let's jump in.
I hate you.
Tom hates me. He hates me a lot, and for good reasons. From our friends at Bounding Into Comics, written by John F. Trent himself. Rumor: Disney CEO Bob Iger has scrapped 2 previously announced Star Wars films. The new rumor claims that Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger is scrapping at least 2 previously announced films. Wow, very exciting. I don't know why the Tron coaster is there. Was Tron going to be in Star Wars? Anyway, this new rumor comes from Scooper WDW Pro. Oh, wow. Imagine that. Pro.
We know that guy.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's got a show coming up later today. Anyway, he states, I am told 2 movie projects that were going to be taking place at Lucasfilm will not. Now, whether or not they make any kind of official statement about this, or whether they just go into the dustbin of history quietly, we will find out. So let's see. Wait, for whatever reason, my scrolling button is broken. Perfect timing. So accordingly, from there, Pro detailed that the 2 movies are, one of these I'm told is James Mangold's film. That movie is at least paused without ceasing. Let's say that. Mangold's film was recently announced back in April at Star Wars Celebration, which is a big nothing burger this year. In a press release, Lucasfilm provided a brief overview of the film. James Mangold will take audiences deep into the past, telling the tale of the first Jedi to wield the Force and harness it as a liberating power in an era of chaos and oppression. Well, isn't that always the case in Star Wars?
So it's Jedi Jesus.
There you go. Anyway, the Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny director further elaborated about the film in an interview with Gizmodo. He said, when I mentioned to Kathleen Kennedy the idea that I had about going backward, really far backward, I was surprised that it excited her. and the other wonderful people she works with at Lucasfilm. For me, it's about, I want to be part of a saga, but I also don't want to be holding so much lore in the air that you can hardly tell a story. And I really wanted to do what I told her was just make, can we make a kind of 10 commandments of the Force, you know, a kind of origin story of how the Force came to be known, understood, wielded, and harnessed. There you go. Yeah, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy also informed the Dagobah Dispatch about how the film connects with Daisy Ridley. That was also announced at Star Wars Celebration. My goodness. So there's a lot of food for thought there. Okay, we'll move on. Later in the video,
real quick, Culture, wasn't didn't news drop either earlier last week or earlier this week or late last week that Del Toro was actually the one that came up with this idea of the going like 25,000 years in the past?
I wouldn't be surprised. So
Force
is that another director then who was working on a project who left?
Yep.
Well,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, Del Toro actually proposed, I think, something very similar to that. I think you're 100% spot on there.
Yeah.
That's not surprising. Yeah, that's not surprising though, Nick. But I guess he said that the Taika Waititi film was also being scrapped. He stated the other movie that I have been told is essentially dead on arrival is the Taika Waititi film that he's been writing for. He may turn something in. He may get paid for it. I'm told it's dead. It's just dead. Maybe they'll pick it up in years to come. But right now, there's nothing behind it. Nothing behind it at Lucasfilm. So that's crazy. I don't know, fellas. What do you think? I surmise that probably everything Star Wars right now is getting a second glance. Andre, what do you think?
I'm unsurprised. I mean, this Taika Waititi project, I took that for granted a long time ago that this wasn't happening. Because that is something that was announced years ago. And as we know, the first step in a Star Wars project being cancelled is it being announced to begin with. So, yeah. That movie has gone full circle. The bigger surprise here is the James Mangold thing. Now, that is not a huge surprise when you look at the numbers for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
It's par for the course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But here's like the thing, because this is something I'm surprised wasn't picked up by more. Because at this year's Star Wars Celebration, 3 movies were announced. It was this one, taking place in the past. It was Dave Filoni's Mandalorian Roundup movie, taking place in the present, if you will. And it was the Rey movie, taking place in the future. For those paying attention, past, present, and future, what's that? That's an opportunity to basically reshape the entirety of the Star Wars franchise. You can now set up some drivel in the past, pay it off in the present in the Mandoverse, and then continue it in the Beyond the Future in the Rey saga, so that you have reframed all of Star Wars and removed George Lucas from it and really gone all Kathleen Kennedy. So this shifts that plan a little bit, but I'm not that surprised, because again, if something had to go, it's the past. It's not like a huge thing. What disturbs me more is that the project that we haven't heard is cancelled is the Rey movie, and that is the one that really needs to be cancelled. Unfortunately, this is the one that Bob Iger personally reportedly is pushing for. Because if you remember, when it comes to the sequel trilogy, he's as guilty as Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, the training wheels came off with The Last Jedi, but he was there and took it away from George in The Force Awakens. So he has a personal vested interest in seeing the sequel trilogy actually work one way or the other, because otherwise that's pie on his face too. Problem is that he's obviously just throwing more good money after bad by continuing this stupid Rey movie. And it is stupid, and that's not the movie we're hearing isn't happening. But it needs to be. That is the one movie above any that needs to be scrapped and shut down. That's my thoughts, at least.
No,
Yep.
I think those are brilliant thoughts, and I'm with you. I think that if they just cancel everything that's being done in Star Wars and bring somebody in who really knows what they're talking about, somebody with a deep love and affinity of it, like they tried to do with John Favreau, I think they'd be more successful. But of course, we have our real Star Wars expert here, and Nick from EBN. Nick, what are your thoughts here? Are you encouraged that they're canceling these, or are you discouraged?
I saw it coming before it ever even happened. I mean, we've talked about it even on this show. We're like, if Mangold's Indiana Jones does not perform, that movie's not getting made. Given Lucasfilm's track record, that's always been the case. When they've brought people on in, Patty Jenkins in the Rogue Squadron movie, uh, Wonder Woman didn't do good, and then all of a sudden her project's canceled. Dan and Dave last season of Game of Thrones didn't do well. All of a sudden they're not on board anymore. Mangold, Indiana Jones flops. Now his movie's getting canceled. The other than the Ray movie that Andre was talking about, the Lando movie, I don't see why they're making that. That's another one that should be canceled and should be on this list as well. Nobody asked for it. Nobody wants it. It's going to probably flop harder than Solo. I mean, you're making a movie on a side character of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and a side character of Solo. I mean, if you ever go to the Walmart, Target, anywhere where you can get action figures, there's always Landos on the shelves. Nobody is buying them, and nobody's going to go see that movie. So that's definitely another one that I think should be on the chopping block. I don't think it'll actually ever happen. I think Disney knows it's going to be a flop. Maybe they're just wanting them to write it and just see if it sounds like it would be a good project, but nothing you're going to write is going to be any good for that Lando movie. So it should be gone. But yeah, overall, none of this is surprising. I'm in a complete agreement with you, Culture, on they just need to, at this point, fire everybody over there, minus a couple people, and get somebody else involved that actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best course forward. And I know that Tom's not a big fan of Star Wars anymore. He's kind of on the
It's done.
yeah, you're on the it's dead pathway. But Tom, do you have any thoughts on these films just being,
Not surprised, as Andre said and Nick said, I mean, the Mangold one is kind of par for the course.
right?
We knew once Indiana Jones failed, that would be her excuse not to have that one go forward. I agree that basically the only two we're going to see that's going to be the Filoni one and the Ray one.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at. And to me, that's nowhere. It's a big step backwards again. I've lost faith in Star Wars since Gina Carano was let go. So.
Yeah, when she was not renewed. Yeah. Man, it really does feel like that's when everything kind of died. Like fan enthusiasm died would be probably a fair way.
Well, it took a little while for the fandom to catch up. I mean, yeah, it was a blow to the fandom when Gina was let go, or however you want to put it.
I submit that that's actually when it died.
That is the moment. It took a little time for it to happen as far as like behind the scenes, because this was hot off, Luke appearing in the end of season 2. But Andre and I have reported many, many, many times what happened behind the scenes, and we wholeheartedly believe it.
Yeah.
That basically.
Sorry, carry on, Tom.
I was say the short version is basically that, Filoni and Favreau had a handle on things, especially Favreau. But Filoni is somebody I've always said since day one, and people yelled at me and hollered at me, including even people like Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers, that I said, never trust Filoni. Don't fucking trust him. He's one of them. I never necessarily would have said that him and KK were in cahoots per se, but they're definitely within the same political sphere, where his agenda lined up with hers. It doesn't necessarily mean they had to be, in cahoots at all.
Yeah.
Because at the time when all this was going on, the reason why Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni had the free reins they did was because Kathleen Kennedy was being distracted by Blood and Bone trying to
Right.
get that off the ground.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Chapek made one of the dumbest decisions he ever made. And that was when he told her to quit messing around with that and get over here and deal with what Lucasfilm is really all about. And that's, Willow,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, and Star Wars. And of course, that's the moment where everything went to hell. That's the moment when Gina Carano was ousted for whatever reason, and we all can kind of trace it back to her coming back. And at
Yeah.
that moment's when Favreau had to compromise his vision. Not Filoni, Favreau.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of energy was lost as well, because I mean it really did take the air out of the balloon, so to speak, and I feel like that's 100%. So Tom, as usual,
Well, we knew something was up when in Boba Fett you've got 2 episodes of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why is this a thing?
not a
Yeah,
lot of
he's
great,
not even in it at all, not even for a second.
not a lot of great writing. And I guess that is something that happened. I mean, you just lose gumption, and I think Favreau lost gumption, and too much got turned over to the animation guy, Filoni, and that's why everything feels pretty flat. We will get to Ahsoka later, folks, but I want to get to some of this wonderful chats that we have, these super chats, this fan funding. You guys, thank you so very much. Graham Cast for $5 reaches back in time to a few minutes ago to say that I don't think Dumbledore is a cursed role. They just have to cast geezers to play him, so it's just a matter of time until those actors kick the bucket. Well,
that is exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a risk when you film something with actors that reach a certain age, because after a certain age, every single day can potentially be the last one. I mean, don't you think that the makers of Star Trek Picard weren't terrified that, okay, we have now started the season, how far are we going to get into it?
Well,
the insurance company and everything. So yeah, it's as simple as that. There doesn't have to be anything more to it. But when you have an old man played by an old man, yeah,
it kind of reminds me when Ellen Bernstein was when they asked her about the curse of Exorcist, and she's like, she was one of the only ones who don't believe it. Right? She said flat out, she says, "You're making a movie for that long. People are going to die. Things are going to happen in people's lives. That doesn't necessarily mean anything." So she's like, "I've been on several films where people die over the course of the making of the film, or something will happen, but nobody talks about the curse of that. It's just, the matter of having that aura of a curse over it, just because the original actor died and now this actor died. It was how many years ago that the original actor died? So like, I wouldn't go looking into conspiracies of curses at this point. I think it's
Gambon completed.
So you're right. Yeah.
Gambon completed his run. So very good. And somebody next up mentioned in the chat that R.I.P. Michael Gambon. Time to rewatch Sleepy Hollow. Yes, that's an underrated Johnny Depp film. If ever I've seen
came out
one.
on 4K.
Yeah, it is a good film. Yeah. Any roles you guys can think of that you thought he performed exceptionally well?
Johnny Depp, every movie has ever been in.
Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of listing off roles.
That's
a movie where I thought Christopher Walken was also like a really cool standout. Because he's the actual headless knight in there. And also our good friend Gary J. Tunnicliffe. He has some cool stories from the making of that movie because he did the special makeup effects for it.
Oh wow, I bet you he
Now
does.
I wonder if he got to shoot anything for Paddington 3, because I see he was in Paddington 1 and 2.
I don't know. I hope so. I mean, a lot of that was shot, which is why it came as such a surprise.
I wonder.
We talked about on Tuesday that
it's not in his list here, but we don't know how sick he was or anything. So.
Yeah, that's also true. Well, thank you, Horseradish Power, for £2.
No, he's a very, very prolific character actor, and he will be missed. That's for sure.
Indeed. And again, thank you, Horseradish Power, for £2 sterling. We appreciate it. That's proper money. I know Nate will be pleased. We got a super sticker from Jacob Bauman. Thank you, my friend. $4.99 super sticker. We're very grateful indeed for that. And again, it doesn't necessarily, your super chats, your fan funding does not have to be related to what we're talking about. It can be asking us a question on anything you think we might be able to impart some knowledge on. So don't hold back, don't withhold the opportunity to participate. And once again, we thank you. We probably have already been demonetized. Tom's here. So that usually
Yep.
means demonetized. Israel R for $5 says, hello, CC, Tom, Andre, and Nick. Nick, your Ahsoka review was awesome and great trolling. Well, you're going to get to hear more of that here in just a few moments. I assure you. Yeah, we will keep that in reserve. And there are a couple of things like Israel, your next super chat we will get to in a moment because we are going to talk about the subject of the strikes. That is a big part of today's stream, as you can tell from the thumbnail. Pilgrim Media for $2. So say it loud, say it proud, get woke, go broke. Yeah, I think Disney's in the heart of that. Gentlemen, what do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm not.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, even the parks are failing right now, and
Indeed.
this is the reason. It's because they have pushed it too far, and the
And
audience.
now they're about to drop. Now they're about to drop what they say, like $6 billion or something into the parks or something like that.
60.
60.
It's
Oh,
going to be
good
more in
God,
the cruises.
60. Oh,
No, I know it sounds like a lot, but considering like it's not.
Yeah. 60 billion over a decade is $6 billion a year. It's going to cost them $6 billion just to build the third gate at Disneyland Resort. And again, they can announce anything they want. Oh yeah, we're going to spend $100 billion in the next decade. Okay, they don't have to. Just telling you they're thinking about it. They have plans. So it's very, very misleading. But they are suffering at every level, including my friends in the theme parks, and most especially in the theme parks. They've gone down the summer months, despite how hot it is in Florida. They've gone down in attendance in a terrible way. But we're getting well off the topic, and I told Mr. H I would run this the way he does, so I'm going to put my foot down. So there you go. We're going to stop there, but thank you, Pilgrim Media, for the $2 super chat. And yes, and Die Dinks, I think, for £5 sterling says, in memory of David McCallum. So much love for Uncle. I love that show. The Invisible Man, Sapphire and Steel, indeed. And here in the States, more than a decade or nearly two of being on NCIS as Ducky. Indeed. Thank you for the £5 sterling. Anything you guys want to say about David McCallum, since we're honoring?
Another character actor we lost this week.
Yeah, the recently deceased. He was great. I loved Uncle. I really did. And very, very talented. I don't know, Nick, did you ever watch NCIS or any of that?
I did not. I know he did the voice for Alfred in a lot of the Batman animated shows and movies that they put out. But other than that, I can't really think of a whole lot that I watched that he was in.
Great Escape.
Yeah, he was in a lot of stuff. Yeah, you would recognize him.
A lot of NCIS.
But you would recognize him, Nick. Believe it or not. Yeah. Andre probably doesn't have a whole lot of touchstone there, but
no, he's one of the famous that guy actors, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And those are the ones that kind of make Hollywood in a way.
Character actors.
You don't think too much about them, but it's actors like him that really elevate a movie or a series to that additional level.
Yes.
It's not just about the star. The star, the diva, is nothing without all the other elements that make something special, that makes whatever you see come to life. This is one of those that made everything else come to life.
Yeah.
And so he will be missed.
And he'll be missed, and probably most recognizable from a 1963 film that was mentioned in the chat, The Great Escape. So we will thank you for the super chat and move on to a super sticker from our great friend Al Humphreys. I hope you're doing well, my friend, and sipping on something delicious. For £5 sterling, Al sends us a super pear. I appreciate that super sticker. All right, we will get back to Israel's question in just a moment, but I want to move on while we still have Tom here. If Tom is available.
I got about a good 10 minutes or so left.
All right, then we are going to jump immediately to, well, you know what? I'll play the stinger thing. Let's see if I can get that to work. Where's it at? Oh, here it is.
Oh dear Lord.
That's right. Halloween is for sale. My goodness, I know it's crazy. That's right.
They
We
couldn't
have,
sell it fast enough, could they?
I guess not, but this is from Small Screen, so we love Small Screen here. And the Halloween franchise is being shopped around Hollywood. That's the headline for the
I
story.
remember we dropped this story on the morning show. What was it, like 3-4 months ago, Andre?
Something like that, yes. But again, we were
It didn't
really
get
early
picked up,
on that. It
evidently.
takes
Yeah.
a while for it to get picked up, different places. But this is
Yeah.
very often the case because, like, whenever some rights are for sale, only very rarely is that massively publicized. It's only like when some parties start show interest that it starts showing up on the media's radar.
Yeah. Well, Edward wrote this, and here we are. It says the chilling whispers of Michael Myers' return are echoing louder than ever as news breaks that the iconic Halloween film franchise is being shopped around Hollywood. Miramax, the current rights holder, they're so poor right now. Anyway, we'll keep going. Is reportedly in discussions with several interested parties, igniting a flurry of speculation about the future of this beloved horror franchise. According to Bloody Disgusting, Miramax is not just considering film projects, but it's also open to television adaptations, making the possibilities for the franchise's evolution even more intriguing. Now, Tom, you seem to have the inside track on this, which is why I wanted to why I wanted to jump into it. You say that there's already some people like are in pole position for
Such a good-looking young man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, he is.
He's very, very handsome.
Yeah, he truly is.
Look at him.
Wow. Look at that. Let me pull that up.
Priceline.com.
That's right, Priceline.com. I appreciate that.
No, it sounds like A24 is in the top running. Why, I do not
Oh, very
know.
good.
Why anybody would want to try to reattempt to reboot this franchise again so soon after the failure that was Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends is beyond me. I mean, you went from the peak of the franchise to Star Warsing this bitch quicker than shit. And I love that I've turned it into a verb now.
Yeah.
They Vadered it.
They vadered it.
No, because Halloween Kills, you still had a chance at like doing something with it, I guess. So I guess that wasn't as much Last Jedi, but oh my God, was Halloween Ends like, how bad can we make a movie? Right? Like,
Well, they didn't do a good job. That's for darn sure. And again, I mean, at this stage, I mean, the future of Halloween is
that's
very
what I
much
mean.
about-
It's
yeah.
done. Like, why would you even want to mess with it? The only thing you really don't even need, unless you want to do something that bad with Michael Myers, why even bother?
How do you do a good television show with it? I don't know how you would do that.
It'll end up just like friggin' Rob Zombie's Halloween is what'll happen.
Yeah, I hope not.
I don't
Complete
know.
reboot, reimagination, something.
Well, that's what you have to do to stretch that story out, right? Like, what made Michael Myers interesting in the first place, or the least bit scary, was that nobody knows why he did what he did. He lived a perfectly normal life, and one night he just decided he's going to stab his fucking sister, right? Like, that's what made him scary, was like there was no reason or rhyme behind it. When you do the Rob Zombie version, it's like, well, no wonder he's killing everybody. He's fucking trailer trash, and everybody treats him like shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So no, I don't want to sit through 3 seasons of that.
I think that would be difficult. I think you're asking an awful lot of an audience to,
I was really disappointed with the Halloween franchise because what I thought they were doing, and it made sense to me at first, was okay, you bring Jamie Lee Curtis back again, so this time you set the path back to where John Carpenter initially meant for it to be. And that is to where Michael Myers is simply just the babysitter murderer. He doesn't care about his sister, doesn't care who it is. It just matters that it's a baby. That's what I liked about the 2018 film when he took one look at Jamie Lee Curtis and he just keeps on fucking walking and she realizes, you don't give a shit about me. It ain't about me. It's just about he just wants that to relive that night again over and over in his head, right? Like that's what it's all about. And I mean, at that moment, you turn him back into this shark, right? Like he was in the original film. Because once you made him the brother, once you started giving him more background and all this other stuff, it starts turning it into more of like motivation. And they added the Thorn crap and the other later ones that they retconned before H2O. And it was like, why. At least H2O had made more sense, and it felt like a much more satisfying ending. Halloween 2018 went nowhere, and it made no sense because at the end of the day, it didn't undo anything it needed to do, and it didn't prove to me that Halloween 2 shouldn't exist.
Well,
But anyway,
I think as a TV show,
I know that's off the beaten path of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's fine. And I think as a TV show, it would have to kind of mimic, if there was going to go down the Rob Zombie way, it would have to mimic like
The only other way you
shows
do it is anthology. Sorry, I was just going to say, but yeah.
Well, that too, but I think you would have to do it the way they did Dexter, right? You know, and try to flesh it out that way, and just do it through a series of flashbacks. But I don't think an audience is going to sit through that.
Otherwise, you have to follow Loomis. It has to be a story. Like, that's the only way I can see you doing a series to where it's basically not so much about Michael Myers, but more about Dr. Loomis and the shit that he deals with and the other patients he has, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think, Andre?
I think that there's nothing more that you can do with the Halloween franchise. Yeah. It has been milked. There is nothing more you can do. Let it go. That is my thoughts on it. Like, really, you've done everything. You have multiple continuities. You have branching path storylines. You can choose your own adventure. The first you can choose is, okay, what if Jamie Lee Curtis is his sister? That's your first branching path, right? And then what if it continues beyond the second movie? That's your second branching. You have like 3, 4, 5 different branching paths in this franchise already. With so many branching paths, really, there's nowhere else to go. No. I mean, you even remade it. Really, like, I like my classic 80s monsters. I don't think there's any reason to ever retire something like, for instance, Jason Voorhees, which ironically is a Michael Myers ripoff.
Right.
But with the original Michael Myers, you have milked it to death. You have done everything that can be done with it, and you've even done things that shouldn't be done with it. It is time to let it go, rest forever, and create a new IP instead that can do the same thing.
Yep. Whole new character, whole new storyline. You know, I mean, just like what Andre was saying, you know, Michael Myers is basically a Jason ripoff.
No, the other way around. Jason is a Michael Myers ripoff. Michael Myers came first.
Oh, did he? I did not even
78.
know that.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, how many movies of these have there been?
A lot.
Let's see. Of the original series, there's
6 in the original series. Is it 6?
8.
Yeah. Well,
if you count before Rob Zombie's remake, there was, because 6 was.
Oh, right, yeah. But
H2O, and you have Halloween.
They're different continuities.
Yeah. But he's asking how many. So then you have that for initial 8. Then you had the 2 Rob 13. Zombie movies. Then you had the last 3 that just finished up here.
Yeah.
So that's 13 in my count.
Yeah, something like 13, I think. Yeah.
So if they keep going with this, like, I feel like it's going to end up in the.
That's counting part 3, though. If you want to take that one out of it, that's up to you. Sorry,
but yeah,
it's part of the franchise.
It feels like if they keep going with this thing, it's going to wind up in the Bride or Seed of Chucky type film.
That's even better at this point.
Yeah.
Actually, Chucky is something that you can't keep milking. You can't Halloween. That's the irony.
Well, they did until last season when it went woke, Andre, but that's a whole nother discussion. I was so pissed about that.
Yeah.
The series.
Well, we're on the cusp of losing Tom, and I want to get these 2 super chats out there, because they're food for thought. This first one here is from Pilgrim Media for $2. Mike Myers is a
Just cast that little kid from Walmart that was throwing shit at her grandma. Did you guys see that video?
Yeah.
No.
Oh man, Shavitz.
Yeah,
it's making the rounds on the Twitters.
Yeah, you'll probably see it, Nick. But
you got some lady the whole time going, "Where's this girl's parents? Where's this girl's parents?" When I would have just walked up and just, I don't care if there's somebody else's kid or not. That kid needed an ass whooping. I said it.
I think there's a lack of discipline sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
In certain households.
She's abusing her grandmother.
which is not great.
No, but anyway, that's off the beaten path here. But no, like the Mike Myers thing is, yeah, I can see that next.
Yeah, I look, it does take it in a different direction, right?
Well, and the only thing that seems to make sense is do it as an anthology, at which point you don't need to buy the franchise to do that. Just do your own thing.
Here's the thing, that has already been done before as well. I mean, that's part 3.
Yes, but my point is, as long as you don't do the same things they're doing, you can't copyright the term Halloween.
You might
It's
as well
true.
call it American Horror Story because
It's pretty much the same thing, yeah.
I think you could do a TV show based on this alone, and I think it would be great, and the modern audience would lap it up, right?
Somebody did have a good idea. Speaking of that, they said if you're going to do anything, remake Season of the Witch.
Oh, that was actually, Halloween 3 was great. I know a lot of people didn't think so, but I did. Silver Shamrock is still
There's
stuck in my
potential
mind
there.
to this
You could
day.
do a series on that whole thing,
Yeah,
like a
and
wacky Twin Peaks kind of town.
wouldn't that be great? I think it'd be great. An entire
People
town.
wander in, and you have the whole town's built on this factory that, yeah.
And you could repurpose that song. I love that song. But Gramcast for $2 before you, I know you got to go, Tom, but Gramcast for $2 says ABC. Michael Myers should replace Xana on Wheel of Fortune. Well, there you go. There you go. Try and sabotage ABC before you sell it to what's his
Did
name?
Vanna finally retire?
No, she extended her contract 2
I was
more
going to say, I
years.
thought she was keep going. I thought,
Wow.
Yeah, she's sticking around.
She might as well, but I can't stick around, unfortunately.
I know. So, Tom, yeah, thanks for stopping in, and I appreciate your support here on the show today. Folks, you can find Tom in many, many different places. But, Tom, before you go, anything quickly you want to say? Nope. Failing?
Just, I think we'll have a mead later if I feel up to it.
Sounds great. Yeah. Hopefully you can catch you a little bit of the WDW Pro Show. So we'll see how that goes.
I don't think I got the invite, but thank you much.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I'll see you soon. Be safe. Have a good time.
Take
See you,
care.
Tom.
I know that's
Take
a
care.
party. Yeah, Tom's gonna go have fun at the doctor. Yay!
Oh.
Yay! But look, I think T Neil caught wind of what was happening here. Yeah, T Neil 89, aka dislikes puns, for $2 says Midnight's Edge annexed Mr. H via Viking raid. That's right. Andre and I got together.
Yeah. We continue the proud Nordic tradition of raiding the UK.
Yeah, we did indeed. But let's move on, because this is what everybody's coming for. We've already kind of highlighted that we were going to talk about it. It's in the thumbnail. I think we should move to it. I think we should move to it. Here we go. If I can find the button. The strike is over, right? Right.
The writer
Yes.
side of it, anyways,
Yeah.
right? Or supposedly, allegedly.
Well, and there are a bunch of hurdles to jump through, and I think that we need to acknowledge them, because there are several, but there are a ton of them. But the studios right now are starting to press forward with things that they'd kind of suspended, and I think that this is important to note. According to this Deadline article here, studios start to reinstate suspended overall and first look deals. Not all packs will be extended. That's telling. It means that there is stuff out there that they hit the pause button on that they don't intend to restart. So real quickly through the article, because it's not long. Just as studios were quick to start suspending overall and first look deals just days after the start of the WGA strike, several began to restore suspended packs right after the strike ended Wednesday morning, which is interesting considering it's still technically not over, but for all intents and purposes it is.
This is a matter of restoring, right? So
yeah,
here's the thing. Now we get to see who they want to keep, because
Exactly.
it's not over. But they're like, okay, now it's the first more opportunity we have, so we need to keep your talents. That's who they want to keep. Just to keep that in mind. So if you're a showrunner, if your deal has been suspended and it hasn't been, you haven't heard anything from anyone wanting to renew it or re-up it or whatever, you're in trouble.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that this is going to be rather telling. And for those of you who are watching, you happen to be here, share the stream, hit that like button. We are short on likes, guys. Let's punch those numbers up. Once again, we will get to the super chats when we wrap up here with the conversation. We've got one on deck, so let me finish this here. This is from the author saying, "I hear Disney TV Studios, 20th Century Fox TV, and ABC Signature, that's all Disney, Warner Brothers Television, and Apple are among those who started notifying people that their pacts had been reinstated. That includes all the studio's top talent, both writer producers and non-writing producers, whose deals were suspended more recently. Other studios, including Amazon Studios, CBS, Paramount TV, and Universal Studio Group, are expected to start sending their letters to writers and non-writing producers at the end of the week. Those are showrunners. Some as soon as late tonight. That would have been, well, yesterday. Deals don't automatically extend after a strike-related suspension, with studios exercising their option to do that on a case-by-case basis. As expected, not all pacts will be extended, meaning that some will not be getting the suspension period as much as 5 months for the first wave of impacted writers added to the end of the term. I hear that affects deals close to their end date, which studios are not planning to renew. A number of pacts that expired during the strike also are not being extended. One of the three studios that started to send their notifications, I hear Warner Brothers Television has not extended a sizable number of its suspended pacts. According to sources, this is not final, and for longer-term agreements, a decision on possible extensions will be made after discussions. Andre, so you're right on point there, but what do you think's happening with J.J. Abrams' first look deal?
I don't think that's one of those that's going to be reinstated.
Yeah, didn't they sign up to like $500 million worth of work possibly for him?
Yeah, they did, and nothing came of it. And everything he has offered to them, they've rejected every last thing. So I think that more and more in Hollywood have seen through him. They have seen that the only one that actually earns money on working with J.J. Abrams is J.J. Abrams.
This
and
is
it
very,
happens
very
at
true.
studio and shareholder expense. So I'm very, very glad they have seen that. Now, what I am very disappointed by is that they haven't seen the same for his acolyte, Alex Kurtzman, who is still at CBS and Paramount and still ruining Star Trek. This is very disappointing. If there was one person above any, well, not above any, but in my top 10 list people that I wanted to see be ousted or force majeured out over the course of the strike, then Alex Kurtzman was on that top 10. Hell, he was even in the top 3. And he's still there. Nothing happened. You're muted, Cultured. Yes, you're muted.
I find that rather surprising. I think that's that was just what I just. If you were going to let anybody go, it would be Kurtzman, right?
You would think so, but
Yeah.
fortunately, and this is something that Tom has raised, the people that are now running Paramount, none of them have ever ran Star Trek before. They don't know what Star Trek is. That was several generations of executives ago, that Star Trek was a gold mine for them. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it can be. As far as they're concerned, they are glad that someone of as high a caliber as Alex Kurtzman can take care of that for them. That, unfortunately, I believe, is the state of Star Trek, the incompetence of CBS and Paramount. Doesn't help the strength of the property when the ones who ultimately manage it don't understand it, know what it is, or how to monetize it. And that's where we are with Star Trek.
Yeah, but I think that Star Trek and Star Wars kind of share that at the moment with the people that don't know what they're doing with what
This
they
is
have.
actually, this is true for most franchises. Very few franchises are lucky enough to have a showrunner that truly understands what it can be and will protect its integrity. You have some very few who will do that, but they're few and far between.
Indeed.
sadly, it's not of none of our really big, massive favorites right now are in that lucky position.
Yeah. Let me pose one at Nick. Nick, a lot of deals are written for both television and film with all of the Disney studios. Of course, that would include Star Wars, Lucasfilm. Do you think there was any chance that we were going to lose some of those deals with some of these directors, writers, or anything for TV and film, and that maybe Iger canceling them, which we discussed earlier, was somewhat tied to any of that? Or
Yeah, 100%. I
Oh.
think that's definitely probably has a lot to do with it. I don't know the details of this deal that they came to with the writers and stuff, but they're going back to work, so I'm guessing that they're probably happy with it, which means that the studios probably weren't that happy with it, but just accepted it just to get ball rolling on things again. So now, in my mind, it looks like they're trying to look at cutting costs other places since they might have to spend more money on paying writers. So yeah, I figured there's probably going to be a lot of projects that are going to, especially within Lucasfilm, that are not going to end up happening. That's why I'm surprised that the Lando thing hasn't been announced to be on the chopping block.
Well, and there, yeah, I am too. But there are broader issues that are being brought out because of this writer strike, and it puts us right into the super chat that Israel sent a bit ago. Israel R sent a $5 super chat saying, "Do you guys think we will see less shows with less production going forward after the consequences of the Hollywood strikes?" My answer, very simply, is yes. Andre, feel free to elaborate on that.
Sure. I will. I'll give you the long version. Like you said, yes. I'll just give the long version. Hell yes.
There you go.
No, here's like the thing that Hollywood, they have been struggling for a long time now with too high budget and not enough profit margin.
Yeah.
They all know that this cannot continue. Even Bob Iger has alerted that things are going to get slashed even at Disney. Can you imagine what they're going to be everywhere else? It's going to be fewer projects, which means they're going to be more selective going forward. So many of these writers, most of which are freelance, even if they're no longer striking, there's going to be fewer gigs that need their services.
Yeah, and that's perplexing, or maybe it's telling. It's probably both. I think, and I've put in that it's probably less than 50% of the people will actually return to writing gigs proper. I think you'll end up with, I think
that
you'll end
many, 50%.
Less than 50%.
Huh.
I think that'll have regular writing gigs. I think the studios have accomplished what they meant to do, which is kind of have their business when it comes to content production, because I think they all recognize and realize that they weren't making good things and it was too expensive. Nick,
I think that I think there'll be a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? I think they're going to be a lot more conservative on the projects that they're doing. Like, I don't think they're going to greenlight as much stuff for sure. Like, I think they're going to look at projects and be like, can this actually, what are the chances of this project making us money versus these other ones? And I think they're going to try to narrow things down to try to, probably recoup the most amount of money possible and just not greenlight as much stuff moving forward.
Well, and it's interesting because we have some brilliant minds in the chat that are agreeing with you, and they're saying exactly the same thing, which is, well, we're going to have less to see and there'll be less produced, but this isn't going to be necessarily mean better. I think a lot of the merit-based writers are permanently out of the industry now and have gone to do something else, but that's an opinion. I don't know. Do you guys share that? Maybe not.
I don't know. I don't think that they are out already in this moment. I think that many are going to make some very hard discoveries going forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard decisions for them to make. I think not renewing these deals is the beginning of that, but I think there's a lot more difficult decisions for them to make. I think, if you're a studio like Warner Brothers, and we have more to talk about with Warner Brothers and DC specifically during the course of this show. I think that I think if you're Warner Brothers right now, you are assessing whether you need the relationship with J.J. Abrams and his wife, or you do not.
I think they already assessed that when they basically said no to everything he suggested.
Yeah.
The only thing that they'll keep him on are for like stuff where I don't think he's completely gone. But you have like projects that he was able to lock himself into, and they're going to continue. Like for instance, I hope that we will still get Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves. That is going to get J.J. Abrams is going to get the producer credit on that, because he was able to lock himself into all things Constantine. But that doesn't mean he's going to do anything other than collecting a paycheck, and that's honestly the best we can hope for.
I think it's pretty easy for them to pull him out of that if they don't recast Keanu. They could go a completely different direction.
I hope they don't recast.
It's a branch of Constantine IP that he was able to lock himself into.
Oh, really? Oh, good. All right. Well, that's not great.
So in order for it to happen, he has to either get the producer credit or be bought out at a higher price. Now, of course, I might as well just give him the producer credit, because he's not going to do anything other. He's just going to get an on-screen credit. He's not going to do anything else whatsoever. Other
he gets a no-show EP. Is what he gets.
Yeah.
A no-show EP and $100,000.
In name only.
That's right. They do that a lot. There's a lot of make good deals in Hollywood, folks, where you get an EP credit and a check, and you never show up. It sounds like Washington all of a sudden. Anyway, thank you, Israel R. You got a lot of bang for your buck there to add on to that subject matter, and I appreciate it. We have conversations that can happen outside with member chats and member funding of any kind. If you'd like to ask a question like we have here from Jacob Bauman, a member for 6 months, thank you. I know that Nate appreciates that. Culture, I heard you comment that you are not a fan of the Activision Blizzard Microsoft deal. Do you feel, as I do, that Microsoft wants to be the Disney of gaming? I think that they not only want to be that, I think they are working very, very hard to do that. They want to produce about 70 to 80% of everything that you see. One of the ways they do that is to continually acquire the big AAA providers like Bethesda, and in this case Activision and Blizzard, which are really should be still two different companies. Do you guys have any thoughts on this, or is this strictly
also you got to remember all the leaked documents showed that they're trying to pursue the purchase of Nintendo, which I don't think will ever happen. But that's the that's the kind of stuff that they're trying to do over there. I mean, they're trying to buy up as much as they can and kind of be the Disney of video gaming. Yeah. I mean, they've been going back and forth with Square Enix trying to get the Final Fantasy VII remake titles over on Xbox, which haven't been brought over there since the release of the game. They were supposed to be. It was announced that they're going to be, but a deal's never happened. And so I don't know what's going on with all that, but yeah, Microsoft's trying to do everything and anything they can do. At this point in the game, in the video game industry, Xbox is it kind of in third right now, with Nintendo being at the top and Sony being behind them, and then Xbox behind Sony. But Sony, of course, just got that huge hack.
That was so bad. That guy, and the Sony America Entertainment guy retired, left. He failed. Yeah, I don't know. Here's the problem: if you get hacked twice in the matter of 20 years, to the extent where you've compromised your entire PlayStation Network base, maybe you're not paying attention or focusing on the right aspects of your job. I would just say. But
they definitely got to do better over there, but they did implement a couple things before this hack happened on PlayStation Network, such as profile PIN numbers and two-factor authentication. So if people did not set that stuff up, that side of it's on them. I did on my PlayStation account, because whether it gets hacked or not, they're not going to be able to get past the PIN and the two-factor authentication, because it's tied to your mobile device in the app and stuff. So, but yeah, Sony's got to get it together on their security over there. They're kind of shooting
Well,
themselves in the foot with all that.
Yeah, Anonymous ate their lunch not that long ago. You had the Sony email hack where we learned a lot about, how bad Amy Pascal was.
Oh, that was so fun. I missed that.
Yeah,
I wish we
all
could
the
have more hacks like
Ghostbusters
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's rough. And again, I mean, we gleaned a lot about what was happening behind the scenes at Sony Entertainment, didn't we, Andre, back when that
We did.
emails
Yeah.
yeah.
As I said, I do miss that hack right there. That was pretty amazing.
A lot of juicy stuff.
You have like two kind of hacks. That's a fun hack, because the Sony hack where all the emails got leaked, that was just fun. It was nothing bad. It was the studio's dirty little secrets coming out, but really that was a victimless crime. It
And
really was the bigger theme of things.
You can still go back and glean things from those emails even now.
Yeah. I still do that every once in a while when I need it for like current videos and stuff. But this thing right here, this is people's personal data being leaked. This is their bank details. This is people these are data that can be used to actually scam you. So this is bad, and Sony, they need to up their game. Now, of course, it's always a cat and mouse game between hackers that want to hack something just for the prestige, the hell of it, or maybe even as a application to get the job in one of the antivirus companies. It works. That's the best thing you can do to get hired there. But still, this thing right here, this is bad. And Sony, I suppose that the way that this has been made, there's no way you can be 100% sure. But this has happened too often for comfort. Sony needs to do a better job at least trying to stay ahead of the hackers. If they have to divert people from their email security, then so be it. That's a price I'd be very happy for them to pay.
Well, again, I think Nick was onto something with two-factor authentication utilizing phone or like an app like Authy or something like that. Mm-hmm. We actually need to press on. We've got more stories to get to, and just under an hour to get to them, although we probably will go over as normal. But I have one that I think will be fun, because I want to stick with the Warner Brothers theme we were on, and I think Nate would be happy with that. So, more Warner Brothers weirdness. Here we go. Yes, folks. According to the man himself, James Gunn, nothing is canon until Creature Commandos comes out. So James Gunn kills Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in its cradle. Oh, this is such a bad headline. By declaring nothing is canon until Creature Commandos. And to be fair, that is honestly it's honestly kind of a relief. I mean, we knew that the Lost Kingdom was going to be garbage. I'm sick and tired of Black Manta. I thought that was not the right direction to take the franchise in for a second film, but hey, what do I know? This thing will not make $1 billion. But let's jump into this article from Bounding into Comics, but from our friend John F. Trent. We featured a couple articles now from him today. So it seems DC Studios' James Gunn decided to abort James Wan's upcoming Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom film by declaring that no DC properties until Creature Commandos will be canon. That doesn't mean they're not going to release the film. It just means that there's not a lot going forward from this project. Gunn recently made his declaration in a response to a confused Threads user who asked him, "You said DC movies and canon start with Superman Legacy. I and many others are still confused. Are the returning actors playing new versions of the same characters? Is this a J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson situation?" The Superman Legacy director responded saying nothing is canon until Creature Commandos next year, a sort of aperitif to the DCU, and then a deep dive into the universe with Superman Legacy after that. He added, it's a very human drive to want to understand everything all the time, but I think it's okay to be confused on what's happening in the DCU since no one has seen anything from the DCU yet. And there you go. And there's the tweet right there and his response. What's interesting is the amount of social media interaction this guy actually leans into. But we'll move on real quickly. He elaborated in a follow-up post, says, and yes, some actors will be playing characters they've played in other stories, and some plot points might be consistent with plot points from the dozens of films, shows, and animated projects that have come from DC in the past. But nothing is canon until Creature Commandos and Legacy. So there you go, from the man himself. He actually provided some additional clarity regarding Blue Beetle, which I think is interesting. A user asked, I'm wondering, how does the Blue Beetle movie factor in at this point in time? In the past, you said it was included in the new DCU, but some statements are conflicting. Will it have any relation to future projects, i.e. Booster Gold? The CEO replied, Zolo Maraduena will continue playing Blue Beetle in the DCU as Viola Davis will Amanda Waller and John Cena will Peacemaker. So there you go. I think he added a lot of clarity here, but does it mean anything?
Yes, it means that I was right all along.
Whoa, Andre, you were right about something?
And if Tom was here right now, he'd be having a fit.
Yes, he would.
He was like, Andre, I hope you're not right. This better not be what they're doing. Because what I said all along is that, okay, what's going to happen here is that James Gunn is going to pick and choose. He's going to say that, well, my stuff, that's canon. That happened. Everything else, that never happened. I kind of like Xolo as Blue Beetle, so that happened, even if he had nothing to do with it. So now we are starting to see what happens, what the new DC universe is going to be like. So, yeah. The Peacemaker, don't worry about it. You've seen the Suicide Squad, you've seen Peacemaker, that's canon. You can continue watching that. That absolutely happened. Maybe it'll happen a slightly different way, or maybe it's past tense happened in a slightly different way, where like cameos and stuff like that were concerned because of like universe hopping shenanigans. But it happened. What didn't happen was the likes of Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. All of that will be overwritten. So basically, if James Gunn had no hand in it, unless it's a Blue Beetle, it never happened, and it's going to be overwritten by new canon. But if James Gunn made it, it's going to be kept.
I have a feeling that that Blue Beetle will appear in future projects, and I think that's not a bad idea. I think that it actually fits a lot of issues that Gunn was going to have with starting completely from whole cloth. I think that this tells me a lot about what the future will be, and I think it kind of also subtly hints that you're going to see Momoa in a different role. I think that's kind of been cemented there. Although
Lobo, here we come. I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, yes, sir. I'm just going to say I'm not sold on James Gunn doing Superman. I'm very anxious about that. Him doing Lobo with Jason Momoa, that I'm very comfortable with.
Yeah, but I'm also in the same, I still have the same concerns you do, Andre. There's going to be a lot of disjointed and uneven things that we're going to get that could be quite trash. And I don't know, Nick, you've been quiet on this one.
I mean, I thought the writing was kind of on the wall for this whole situation. That they're not gonna make anything canon. Till Gunn starts putting his movies out there. They've already said, I saw an article the other day where they were talking about how Aquaman 2 is basically going to be the end of the Snyderverse era. And moving forward, it's going to be all other things. Jason Momoa's said that he's going to be stepping out of the Aquaman role, and looking at playing another character, such as Lobo in James Gunn's new canon era of the DCU. So yeah, none of this is really surprising to me. Like I said, I thought the writing was pretty much written on the wall the whole time.
I think
Yeah.
you're right, and I have to pose a question to Andre because it's speculative on my part. But do you think that this also has to do with the contractual state of the three people that were mentioned in these tweets? That they already have multiple, project deals together with John Cena and the lady that played Amanda Waller, her wife, Viola Davis, and obviously with Zolo. I mean, you think they signed a multi picture or multi project deal, and they were going to have to keep them regardless?
Here's the thing: when they sign a deal like that, it's only obliged one way.
Right.
Because what those deals always and without exception do is that you give the actors the option to come back and an obligation to do so if the studios decide to carry out that option. So, for instance, it's going to have a clause like, for instance, okay, Sholo, this is the contract for this movie. As part of this contract, if we decide we want to, we're going to bring you back for more movies, and then it's going to be under these conditions. But if we decide against doing so for whatever reason, ain't nothing you can do about it. So that's how these deals work. That the studios are completely free. Like, they don't have to use an actor that they don't want to. It doesn't work like that. It's not like, oh, we are now locked in with this actor. No. You're not locked in with any actor. But the actor is locked in with the contract if the studio decides to move forward. And yes, I believe that all of those have deals for the time that is legally allowed without them having to be renegotiated for like higher salaries and stuff like that. That they will be coming back for both sequels and more seasons and even cameos and other stuff. I believe all of that is going to be in the contracts, not just of these named actors, but of all the others as well. Here's the difference for these three named actors. Well, that's where Warner is going to execute their option. Whereas for all the others, they're simply not going to execute their option.
Well, what I'm concerned with is because it's going to be such an expensive enterprise to restart DC from the ground up, which is what Gunn has been charged to do, and they're spending.
I don't know that it's going to be that expensive. It's not going to be any more expensive to restart Superman than to do another Superman movie. Not really. I don't think so. I think it's going to be much the same price. If anything, it is going to be cheaper because now you can use cheaper talent.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Yeah. For instance, got Henry Cavill. Bringing him back right now, you're going to have to. I mean, it would cost to bring back him alone would cost more than it currently is going to cost for all of the actors in Superman Legacy combined. All of them combined is less than bringing back Henry Cavill alone. So just there is a saving. This is part of the program. You can now also get in different people to do the designs and stuff like that you also don't have like any commitments with from before, so you can get a better rate right there. Plus, for all the other things, you're going to have to do it from scratch anyway, just like you would have under any circumstance. So it's not going to be any more expensive. It actually is going to be cheaper this way.
Well, okay. Let me add even more clarity though. They're spending more money on expanding sound stages just for DC. They're actually giving them some dedicated space for these upcoming projects.
Probably because they're spending less on the talent.
Oh no, I agree.
They got the extra money.
Yeah. That's also an investment. That only goes to show that they anticipate that these sound stages are going to be used a lot, and by doing that, they're going to save money on actual shoot and renting studio space down the line. It might take a couple of years, but if they're serious about it, that is also economies of scale that's going to save them in the long run.
Well, I mean, they do. If you know anything about sound stages, they go up like Jiffy Pop. It's not exactly, they're not exactly hard to put together. It's the interior part that they'll have fleshing it out if they're going to put like volume in and stuff like that. Although that can mostly be done in just a handful of days. But they are doing a massive expansion in Leavesden, if I'm pronouncing that properly. So
I actually got a question for both of you guys. I know
Mhm.
there's a lot of speculation going on. I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on this, on where Aquaman 2 is going to end. If it's going to be a hard end to the Snyderverse, or if we're going to see the switch over into the James Gunn Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters slate. If there's going to be a, like a transition, are we going to
Right.
see something at the end, or is it? Do you guys think it's just going to be a
I think it's
hard
just
cut? Movie's over.
I think it's just going to end. There's no reason for them to try to artificially keep people tied to that old thing. I mean, Peacemaker even technically isn't exactly directly tied to this, and that's one of the reasons why it can progress forward. At least in my opinion. I don't know, Andre. What do you think?
No, I agree completely. There's no reason at all to try to end the universe. You know why? Because then they would have to do reshoots that cost money, and they're not throwing any more good money after the bad money that they're going to be losing on this one. So no, there's not going to be any kind of setup to what is to come. This movie is just going to end much like it was always going to, only without cameos and stuff like that. It's just going to end.
Well, and it sounds like it's also going to end with less audience based on reports that people are walking out of it, and the baby gets killed off. But we got
exactly. Yeah.
We got a couple of super chats real quick that are related to this. I want to get to them. Again, this is a fan-funded podcast. We are definitely demonetized now. And your support helps Nate out and make sure that we have great content coming from him daily. He's been doing some great lore videos, that those seem to be coming out every day, and a lot of other wonderful things. Plus, you get your favorite podcast twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, a bit later on Tuesdays, a bit earlier on Thursdays. And thank you all for being here. You are much appreciated. From Black Saber for $2, Markin. You got Gunn is playing till Warner Brothers is flipped and sold. Wow. Andre, what do you think the prospects are for Warner Brothers to be removed from Warner Brothers Discovery, or from Discovery, I should say?
On a long enough time scale, extremely good. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. But you know what I do think? I do think that David Zaslav, he didn't buy Warner to keep it forever. He bought it to flip it. And in order to flip it, he has to fix it. And that is good news for us.
It is. Especially fans of the properties. Yeah. I know. Honestly, Andre, so you really do think that, in the not near future, but in the distant future, this is really a radical opportunity here?
Yes, I think so.
Nick, you got thoughts on this?
I agree with what Andre is saying. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I think it'll be years down the road. If this gun thing starts coming out, my only question, or my only thought is, are they going to put Gunn here, and is he just playing like Black Saber saying here till it's sold, and he can pretty much do whatever, whether it's a flop?
I have thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, if it's just a flop and they're just losing money, and the James Gunn verse thing is not working, I could, they're going to sell it. It's going to be cheap. But if it does well and it actually brings Warner Brothers price points up, I could see them still selling, and taking advantage of what he's done to kind of increase the price of Warner Brothers.
Andre?
Yeah. Whenever there's a sale, James Gunn is going to be part of the package.
Yeah, I think so. And in fact, they really do try to keep everybody intact. A lot of times you'll see a flurry of contract renewals prior to a sale. You'll see that. You'll start to feel it.
I'll give you an example.
Well, yeah. When they start taking inventory of people and projects and equipment, you're being sold. So I don't know, Andre, what you think to that, but yeah.
No, absolutely. You are, of course, entirely right. But the other thing to add to that is that Just think back to when Disney acquired Marvel.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not that they bought the Marvel IP and they fired everyone. By that point, Marvel already had a proven track record and they already had a winning team. There was no need for Disney to go in and change something that already worked. When they bought Marvel, it was with the implication that they also get the winning team that made
Yes.
it a success, and I was going to continue to make it a success along with the package. Now, the whole idea of a sale here is premeditated on the fact that James Gunn be successful with his reboot, that he actually knocks it out of the park. And if he does that, then whoever might inquire it later on, why would they change what works? They're not going to be interested in the same level if they can't have Gunn with it to continue what he's already set up and what he's still doing. So it's not going to be that he's playing until they're flipped and sold. No. If and when they are, he'll be part of the package.
Oh yeah, and again, that's not uncommon. But hopefully they won't have whoever ends up with Warner Brothers in that distant future. Hopefully they won't do what Disney did and get rid of the people who actually keep all the all the mice in line, because over there at Disney they screwed Marvel up so badly that it's a reclamation project at this point. But we'll get to that a little bit later. We've got another amazing and interrelated super chats. You guys are crushing it. Thank you for the fan funding. For those of you who want to add to the conversation, this is the way to do it. Horseradish Power sends £2 saying James Gunn is killing his stuff before it begins. Yeah. I mean, it could be argued that that's an accurate statement.
He's
He
just
is
killing other people's stuff to make way for his own stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, he's kind of hamstrung himself. Some of the things that he's said, some of the things he's tied himself to.
That did not age well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, the greatest superhero film ever made was The Flash. What?
Yeah, he did not think that through.
No, and again, I mean, if that's a problem, because it really does reduce your credibility. I mean, you've got a whole host of people going, "Oh, what now?" And that's the last thing you want when you're rolling into a new, leadership position. And then look at his statements around the financial disappointment. I'm going to be nice to the Blue Beetle film. That was incredibly disappointing. The studio had no support for Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Didn't we just have another DC thing come out? I feel like we did. Blue Beetle,
Black Adam.
yeah, Black Adam. Yeah, I mean, the studio kind of like bailed on Black Adam too. They've thrown no support behind these films that they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, and what they get is like a very soft support, like they did when Gunn said that Flash is the best superhero film ever made. That's not good.
But the thing, though, is that from James Gunn's point of view, yeah, he wants them to make money because that's good for the studio in the long run. But in isolation for him, it's just as well if they come out and they die, because then his stuff is going to look better by comparison.
Perhaps, but I believe that if you're a team player, you'd say nothing. Like, we're rounding out the DC as it has existed cinematically and animation and television, and we will plot a direction in the future. He didn't have to say anything, and yet he made grandiose announcements on the future.
Why I think he did that? I think he has to show the Warner leadership a significant show of public support, because they know that him coming out early and letting everyone know, oh, we're rebooting all of this, that killed so much momentum it had. So now he has to do some kind of like make good and really show his public support, even though it's not genuine and everyone can see through it.
Yeah, you would have thought that he might have waited till all the Snyder era films were over with before making that announcement and just kind of working on that stuff behind the scenes, because at this point, like, what's the point of going and seeing any of these movies?
Oh, that was the takeaway. There's no point. And that's what they're saying right here. I mean, the one misleading thing with the article is that it's not that he's gone and he killed it now. Now he's done that already. It was already dead. We all knew. The moment he He basically said, "Oh, we're rebooting it, and all of these movies were killed by accident." That was just on him. That was all of Warner not thinking that through.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like I'm starting to feel like Warner Brothers was completely out and they didn't mind that everything was going to fail. But to that end, we have one more super chat related to this. And this is a good question. Speaking of killing things, Pilgrim Media for $2 says, what with DC? What is with DC putting babies in danger? I don't know. I mean, the Flash, the babies and the baby in the microwave thing and all of that with that film was just a hot mess. That was the Flash, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the Flash? Yeah, it was terrible.
It was the Flash. Yeah.
That was probably the worst. That was probably the worst thing. And then they come out, and then basically what they're doing again with this Momoa film, this Aquaman 2 film with Amber Turd, they're doing it again. They're killing the baby. Not good. Not good, DC. I don't know. What do you guys have any inkling as to why they would continue to do this?
No clue. It doesn't make
I
any
think
sense to
that's
me.
someone's idea of being edgy.
Yeah, probably.
All I got.
A baby in a microwave was just a weird moment for me. That was actually the point in the film. I'm like, this thing is they jumped the shark. In fact, it jumped the shark and then pulled like 30 sharks with it. It was bad.
Oh, totally.
It reminded me almost of the moment, if you guys remember the Jean-Claude Van Damme film Double Team with Dennis Rodman and Mickey Rourke, where he throws a grenade into one of the baby beds in the hospital and then pushes the baby with the grenade in it towards Van Damme, and he's got to like hurry and get the grenade to save the baby and throw it. I'm like, wow, he's about to kill a bunch of babies in this. That's pretty dark.
I mean,
I don't know that I've seen that movie.
Yeah, it's called Double Team with it's not a good movie.
With Dennis Rodman. It's one of my favorite bad movies. Come on, Nick.
Yeah.
It's right up there with Showgirls, dude. Come on.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff in the movie, but it's one of those like fun, bad popcorn movies,
Right. Well, unfortunately, and as much as I want to continue on, we have to press on. We've got many more stories to get to, and we have something really important because Nick's here. We saved this for Thursday because Nick's here, and he loves Star Wars so much. He loves Star Wars so much, and he's getting just amazing Star Wars right now.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And he's getting amazing feedback from his fans.
Yes, and he's getting love from his audience at Echo Base. But we have to talk about it because we have to watch it, so you don't have to. Ahsoka, episode 7.
Oh,
what was that,
man? I don't know.
So Ahsoka episode 7 happened. I waited till the last possible moment to watch it before anybody would want me to be responsible for paying attention to it, which means I watched it this morning, very early. My takeaway was, why is there so much stupid in Star Wars now? Why?
Clue.
And I mean, having the whales come out. I mean, there's going to be spoilers here, folks. We can't avoid them. And if you haven't seen it yet, you're not being spoiled because it's terrible. And I know Nick liked it a lot. Nick was raving about it. But it's incredibly dumb. Nick, do you want to break down the episode? This is your specialty.
Yeah. So there was a super chat earlier in the show talking about our review video. So we kind of trolled our viewers a little bit by starting the episode off saying this was the best episode ever. Coach was giving a 10 out of 10. I was like, man, it's not quite 10 for me, but man, I give it a solid 9. This was awesome. Finally, we're not going to be complaining about Ahsoka. Then we just went into our review and we pretty much shitted all over it, the whole episode. And so people are confused, like, oh, I thought you guys liked it, but now you're complaining about it. And then we gave our real scores at the end, which was a 5 for me, which was actually being generous. Again, before I get into any of the parts of the episode, I can always cherry pick stuff out of the episodes. I mean, there was some stuff in it that I was like, okay, this part's not that bad, or this scene's pretty cool, or these visuals are nice. Star Wars has never really ever looked bad. But spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, 3PO shows up in a member berry section of the beginning of the episode, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but it seemed like he had some back problems or something, because he was like hunched back. Yeah, he was the jangling keys in this episode. And it was cool to see Anthony Daniels back, and I believe Admiral Akbar was the one up there, even though they didn't confirm it. But yeah, 3PO was like hunched back the whole time, almost kind of like looking up, and it was really weird. So it was just a little off. And then, of course, the New Republic proves time and time again how dumb they are. The New Republic is the worst possible government in place in the history of movies. I mean, these people are so incompetent and stupid, it's not even funny. Then we get freaking Anakin, coming back on an old training video, where he's talking to Ahsoka that he recorded during the Clone Wars. So it's just another callback. Then Ahsoka the droid, the Pootie Tang droid is the only one who has any brains, because in this episode he's sitting there talking to Ahsoka, like saying, how do we know that they're even taking us to the right place? He's asking all the questions the audience is questioning. And Ahsoka's just like, oh yeah, it'll work out. It'll be fine. And he's the one that's sitting there talking about, what everybody else is saying. How do we know we're going to even end up in the right spot? But Guinness Book World Records, I've got to say, goes to the deployment of mines, the speed of the deployment of mines. So we get a shot of outside of the planet, before Ahsoka gets there, and there's no mines or anything. When she comes out, man, there are millions of them. I don't know where these things came from or how they got there. We haven't seen any of Thrawn's ships outside of the planet, like none of that. But she's got God mode programmed into her ship and stuff. So of course she was fine and got through the mines with no problem. And then some fighters start chasing them, and the witches then have to pinpoint where she's at because they can't find her. But this whole time when they were stuck on this, they couldn't do the same thing to find Ezra. They could pinpoint where Ahsoka is off world, but they couldn't have pinpointed where Ahsoka was on the same planet that they're on. Again, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I will say this, when the bad guys are on screen, Thrawn, Balin, all them, I find myself to be more interested on what's going on screen, even though there's issues there as well. Freaking what's her face, the other witch that got him there, that built the ring, Morgan Elsbeth, she seems to, she's talking about how great he is and stuff, but this whole show, anytime he talks, she's always questioning him. And I understand why they're doing it, because they want him to explain to the audience, what's going on. So they just use her to get an explanation from Thrawn to basically speak to the audience what's going on. But they failed to do this in any other aspects of the show, which is mind-boggling to me. But whatever. Then we proceed to the absolute worst chase scene in the history of Star Wars, with the turtle beetle bot things that are sitting there going, and then also we get a little bit of a connection to the sequel trilogy when Sabine and Ezra are talking, and she's explaining to him how everything happened and went down with the fall of the Empire by the rebellion at Endor and all that, and he's like, oh, and the Emperor's dead, and she's like, well, that's what they say, like there's no confirmation, it's just like, well, that's what people are saying, that he's dead, so they leave it open. This is totally leading up to the sequel trilogy. I know a lot of fans were hoping that the World Between Worlds was going to be used. They're going to retcon the sequels. That 100% is not happening. And the other strange thing I find is the World Between Worlds artwork and design is literally in the Ahsoka title, and we have one episode left, and it's literally just been used to we don't even know actually what it was, if she was really there or if she was dead or if it was a force vision. But we got it once with the Anakin scene, and that was it. So they make it seem like the World Between Worlds is going to be playing this big part, but it's literally done nothing. And then she was supposed to become like Ahsoka the White after that, like Gandalf, but she's pretty much the exact same. Her demeanor is the same. It's right back to same old with her. Her fight with Balin, she doesn't seem to be any better. Pootie Tang Droid has to come and drop some bombs and stuff so she can escape. But let's see. After that, what happened after that? Oh yeah, this was another dumb thing in the episode. Ezra decides to not take the lightsabers from Sabine and says he's just going to use the Force. She's got blasters. She's got her Mando gear and all the little gadgets that come with that. He has nothing, but he's not going to take the lightsaber. So he's like anti-gun now or anti-weapon, like, oh no, I'm not going to use, any weapon. The Force is my ally. So he's doing like martial arts and force pushes and pulls and that sort of thing. But then once all the fighting is done, and before I get to that, one other stupid thing that just came to mind. Ahsoka's ship flying through all this, freaking these ships are just constantly shooting at her, and they're constantly behind her the entire time. The whole time, even when Pootie Tang Droid takes over to fly it, they're still just behind her. In Star Wars, when somebody was behind you, you you felt some sort of danger. Like in the first Star Wars, they had to hurry and get the coordinates in to jump to hyperspace when they left Tatooine. In Empire, 3PO was like, one more hit on the back quadrant and we're done for. And he's like, turn the ship around, throw all the shields towards the basically the front of the ship. And they had to engage and come up with another plan, which was to attach themselves to the Star Destroyer. In this, there's none of that. There's literally none of that. He just flies and we just see them constantly shooting. Then of course, after it's all said and done with, they let freaking the little poodle dog woman, Balin's little sidekick, whose name I always forget because most of these characters are forgettable. They just let her go at the end, like so she can try to kill him later, I guess. Ahsoka stops Sabine from going after her. Like, why are you not taking her out? She's been trying to kill you guys the whole time, but you're just going to let her go? Well, it just, so much of the show doesn't make sense. I hate this show. It's dumb, and I can't wait for the last episode to be done with because we're not going to get any Star Wars for a while, and we can actually move to talking about other things on our channel, which is precisely what we're going to be doing, such as One Piece, which is going to be the next thing we jump into right after Ahsoka ends. But yeah, guys, if you like the show, great. But for me, I demand better for Star Wars, and this just it's just not good. It's just not good.
I think you're still being kind. It's just not good. It's terrible. It was, and again, I mean, it goes back to the conversations that I've been having elsewhere. I'm like, I'm literally forcing myself to watch this. It's like literally forcing myself to eat pineapple pizza. That's what this is to me. This is candy corn. This is candy corn to me. It is that bad. But it's infuriating because they have all these resources and they have some of the look and feel, right? Although things still are too new. Things are still too new. Shiny stormtrooper armor on the zombie stormtroopers and all the other things that go along with this.
That was something else that I realized during this episode was, I guess these stormtroopers aren't the zombie stormtrooper army, because when they were getting shot and killed, there was no smoke or anything coming out of them. They were just dying like regular stormtroopers. So something else must be going on. I think these stormtroopers are actually, actual real people inside. You're muted.
No, I just figured that out. I'm not certain about that. Maybe that's the case. I just don't know. I know this. I'm not very interested in what's happening here. I still think this was maybe supposed to be a comedy at some point, and they don't know how to be funny.
I think the bigger problem is that Dave Filoni doesn't understand that most people haven't seen his animated stuff. And when he has written it in his mind, all of the animated stuff has happened. He has written it as if people know. I know that he has publicly said that that you don't need to have seen the animated series to enjoy this, but he lied. 100%. He was hoping that you could go in cold and you would just kind of like figure out, maybe watch some episodes, hear from other fans. No, this thing right here is completely incomprehensible if you have not seen the animated series, which I have not. And the worst thing about it is that you have Timothy Zahn's Thrawn. Now, that's a character that has Thanos-level potential. But that means that you have to introduce him to audiences for the first time, and you have to do him right. I mean, I'm going to give like an example here, right? Imagine if the MCU decided that the 1996 animated Silver Surfer series was canon to the MCU. And they were just going to look at how Thanos was treated in that animated series. They would assume you have all seen it, and they would base the characterization upon that. They'd listen to the voice actor and say, this is what we need. You know what? Let's see if we can find that voice actor, cast him as Thanos, because his voice is so iconic as Thanos. I know most people haven't seen that series. Thanos is in it, and he utterly sucks in it, much because of the voice actor. But then you have the showrunner that's bringing him back. You have now just ruined Thanos in the MCU because you're not introducing him for the first time. You're not establishing what he is. You're building upon a shitty animated series that no one ever saw, and you're treating that as canon, and you are letting the poor decisions there influence what happens now in live action. That's what's been done here. That's how they wasted Thrawn. This isn't Timothy Zahn's Thrawn. This is Dave Filoni's Thrawn in live action. And if you haven't seen what he's done before, then you're shit out to luck. And as I said before, the real problem here is that a writer can only write characters as smart as he is himself. That is, for the most intelligent of on-screen characters, you need a writer's room, because it takes multiple people to help each other to come up with different facets of this character's personality and problem-solving skills. You don't have that here. You have one writer who is trying to make it come off that Thrawn is this strategic genius who thinks in completely different ways. No, he doesn't. He thinks like a complete retard.
Yeah. He strategically made them waste time. Ooh.
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, and again, I'm with Paul Chatto and many others who just said this was ridiculous. How do you call this a win? I mean, well, because they wasted time. Well, so did you, dummy, and you wasted resources and other things, so you could load up your moving van and hustle back to, a galaxy that you would rather be in.
Yeah. I mean, when they were moving those crates or whatever it is they're moving, I mean, did they feel like they were under any threat of moving that stuff onto the Star Destroyer
I have to ask one thing.
turtle people?
Why the hell were they moving? What's the stuff they were moving? Why were they moving it now? I mean, were they in a rush? Did they have loads of stuff on the surface or something? Were they in a rush to leave? Did they not have pretty much everything in the Star Destroyer before? The hell was their need to move?
Yeah, no, we don't know yet. I guess we'll find out in the last episode.
You think? Because I don't think we'll ever find out. I think that these are some mystery crates that needed to be moved, although I don't see how. They should have been inside of the Star Destroyer. They presumably were already secured for travel in the Star Destroyer. So what the hell do you need to move anything for?
Yeah.
I have no answers, and nor do I care anymore. So I mean, and that's I feel like that's where everybody's at this point. So I don't feel like I'm abandoning anyone. I'm gonna watch the last episode, and then I will never watch it again. In fact, I will make certain to not watch Disney Star Wars going forward because it's that bad. And I think the audience agrees with me.
The only good thing about it is Baylan Skull, and that's not because of the writing. That is because of the charisma and the grandeur that Ray Stevenson brings to the role. Because really, all you have is a role that is slightly mysterious. If it was any other actor, no one would care about Baylan Skull, but they did a stroke of genius in hiring Ray Stevenson. Stevenson brought his gravitas to the role, and that is what made that character come alive and why everyone is mesmerized by him. That's a testament to the talent of Ray Stevenson, not to that of Dave Filoni as writer.
You're spot on. I mean, in this, he's a menacing guy. He's a big guy. It's not like he's small. Look at all the ladies around him. He dwarfs them. The fact that he's not throwing Ahsoka around like a ragdoll still blows my mind. But that's not here nor there.
He did kick her ass in combat twice now. I mean, that's not that is pretty significant, isn't it? Usually, you can never have a man defeat a woman in modern day Star Wars. Stevenson did twice.
Yeah, I thought the best part of the episode was the conversation that Baylan and Shin Hati had when he was talking about
Chihuahua. You mean?
Yeah.
Chihuahua.
Yeah, Chihuahua, Shin Chihuahua. But yeah, the conversation that they were having, where he ends up basically telling her, you know, he's got his own thing that he's doing, you know, and for her to go on and take her place, you know, in the Empire and all that. That conversation between them, I thought was the best part of the episode.
Respectfully disagree. I thought that was the dumbest part. You know why? Because she has joined her master now to a different part of the galaxy where there's a very different where you don't really know if you're going to get back. If you're going to get back, it's going to be with Thrawn. Here's the thing. Thrawn doesn't care one iota about the little Chihuahua. The one he has respect for and is interested in is Baylan Skull. If she comes back to him and she says, well, I am now at your service, master, he's going to be like, what the fuck are you? I don't care. Just go over there, hang with the turtle people.
That's a good point.
She should be like, what the hell do you mean? Where are you going? You're going to leave me here alone? I don't know that Thrawn is going to want me. He has his own stormtroopers. You disappear, he's going to be questioning your loyalty. Why do you think he's going to think I'm more loyal? If anything, he's going to take your disappearance out on me. That's what a logical writer would have said here. These are the kind of questions that she should have wrote. These is like natural things, because basically you were two people. One of them just ditched Thrawn. You think Thrawn is going to be happy with the other? The lesser of the two that he didn't care about in the first place? Why is she so happy taking off on her own? What she's going to do?
And earlier in the previous episode, he did say, like, he basically didn't care about either one of them, and that if they weren't back, you know, oh well, they're going to be left there, you know.
Yeah, I thought that was completely ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. That whole thing, like, yeah, you need to be your own person, so bugger off. in a distant galaxy with no way back other than with these people who probably don't want you.
Well, we have people adding to this conversation. Black Saber for $2 says it's Filoni's felony against Star Wars right now. Yeah, I agree. Thank you for the fan funding, the $2. You guys support this show with super chats like this. You contribute and you get a chance to be in the clips that were released, because this show will be removed. And the only way to find it is going to be in clips over on Mr. H's alternate channel. We've got Space Dave for a Canadian $2 saying, I agree with Andre. Filoni is a buffoon. So is Thrawn. Andre, I think you have a lot of fans in the chat right now.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But really, it's really just a matter of seeing what is there, both in contracts and on screen in this case. And in this case, we are dealing with Dave Filoni, who thinks that everyone has seen his animated stuff, so he can safely build on it. Really, what he's building on for live action for an adult audience now is that he's treating animated series for kids as canon. Now, I know there are many brilliant animated series for kids. Lord, no, I have my kids series that I like to watch too. But here's the difference. I don't want, like, for instance, a He-Man movie to treat the animated series as canon and just be another adventure in it. I mean, yeah, it would be cool and all, but you'd have to budget it accordingly because it would be super duper niche. It would be for me and 50 other people.
Well, aren't they kind of in that position? Yeah, but aren't they in that position already? I mean, this is incredibly niche.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They are in that position. That's what they've done. But they have budgeted something that's super niche and given it the AAA treatment with a $200 million budget. You've a series with less than 1 million viewers per episode is the direct homework and lead-in to this $200 million project.
It's just insane. It's insane. But we're gonna shuffle on. Thank you to all of you that have contributed on the fan funding side of things. Thank you for being part of the show. We've got more to get to. We're running out of time, so we really want to get to this story. I assure you, it is more dismal Disney, and I know these gentlemen are very excited, and you will be too. This is a story I want for you. I want you to have this story because I had to deal with it. It's true. Season 2. Well, at least according to rumor. And season 2 of Miss Marvel could be coming your way. We are getting this rumor from Small Screen once again. Another article from Small Screen. Miss Marvel season 2 is reportedly in the works at Marvel. This came from a 3 days ago. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been a powerhouse of entertainment. That's a strong word. Delivering one blockbuster after another, also a strong take, but I understand. With its expansion into the realm of television, Marvel Studios has continued to captivate. Blah 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 blah. Immense popularity. Here we go. Was Miss Marvel. No.
Immense popularity. I don't know anybody that's watched the show. Like personally, I don't know anybody.
I've watched most of the episodes, but I'll say this: now there's news that Miss Marvel season 2 is reportedly in the works following the success of the first season. Oh my goodness, Edward, please. The show, which introduced the world to Kamala Khan, a young Muslim American teenager with shape-shifting abilities. Yeah, they changed her abilities. Resonated with many for its representation and compelling storytelling. Where did the news originate? Well, from somebody who has a great track record. My time to shine. Hello, says a solo Kate Bishop series because Miss Marvel season 2 is already in the works. So I guess we're gonna get season 2 of Hawkeye, which will be Kate Bishop's story. I don't think that's gonna go well. But the news is coming from My Time to Shine on X. The scooper, who's known for reliable insights in the world of comics and movies, mentioned the possibility of a second season amidst news about another Marvel show, Echo, being cut down to 5 episodes. Yes, because it was too long. While details are still scarce, if the rumors are true, fans can expect another thrilling season of Miss Marvel. Gentlemen, were you excited to hear this news just now that I just imparted to you about
No,
season 2?
I didn't even watch the
Um,
first season. Now, I know there's a couple people out there I saw on YouTube that actually said that the show was pretty good, but yeah, I have no interest in watching the first season or seeing anything from a second season of this show.
Yeah, I I'm with you, but we'll get more into it. Andre, this is a hit show, Andre. This was a hit show on Disney Plus, Andre.
Well, that depends on your definition of hit, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, if season 2 really is in development, but I have to say first, I am not so sure that the season 2 really is in development. I'm
Oh.
not saying that it isn't, but I present to you the evidence of Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek. And yeah, even J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. Because what is the modus operandi there? Every time there is some kind of event, new release or something like that, something coming up, some reason why Star Trek is in the news, they will without fail announce Star Trek 4, or if we're dealing with streaming, announce Star Trek Section 31. This kind of stuff that no one really wants to see made other than the people involved. But they try to do it to create some kind of momentum to force it into being greenlit behind the scenes, which it so far hasn't, but of course that can change. Is there a chance that the sources of My Time to Shine Hello can have been led to believe that, hey, we have this movie in development, so now we need to let everyone know that we're committed to this. Let's get the word out there that there's a season 2 in development. We'll start writing, but then we're going to look at the actual numbers before we pull the trigger. That's what I think they're going to do. I think that they're going to set up a writer's room, start some early development, have an intention, get some buzz going, so you all know that no, we need to see this movie. We need to get invested here because there's more coming. And if it doesn't take off, well, then it can all just go away, and that writer's room will be shut down. That's what I think is happening here. So I think that there is an intention, but it actually happening is 100% contingent on the Marvels being a hit. I would imagine. Then again, with Disney and Marvel today, you never know, can you? I mean, it's not like something having an actual audience is a requirement for it being a hit or something, or for it happening.
Well, let me suggest this. Let's say the Marvels makes $450 million at the box office. Do we get a second season of Miss Marvel with that number?
No, because the Marvels cost 300 million to make. But if it reaches 600 million at the box office, then yeah, I think we are getting a Miss Marvel season 2.
Do you think that the Marvels is going to get to $600 million at the box office?
No.
No way.
But it is within the realms of reality.
Yeah, well, I suggest that you're correct, and I agree with you. I think that we see this often. We saw it already this week on Tuesday. We covered it here on the H-Cast, your favorite podcast, when we were talking about Star Trek 4. Every time Star Trek gets a little bit of a buzz, Andre's 100% correct, you end up with an announcement for Star Trek 4. And again, it's all artificial. It's all being done through this parrot analytics thing, which, I've called out myself even today more than a few times. Look, all of this feeds into a very disappointing life for executives and people at Disney. And they have been They've been beat up pretty good. I'm going to briefly put this on the screen. This is where we close today with the Disney company. No,
Oh, so it's
we're not quite
back
closed.
in the
Excuse
80s.
me. Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're quite closed in the market, but it made it to 80-13.
Can we take a moment to appreciate the fact that all of us were hoping it was going to be in the 70s somewhere, and we're all disappointed? Oh, it's 80.
But it was.
Yeah.
It was up until very recently. It made a huge rally. At one point in the day, it was well below 79. Well, it was well below 79.99, and then it automatically got this small push. It went up just slightly. There's a decent chance that it ends the week tomorrow with profit taking, whatever that happens to be for people, because there's no way anybody wants to stay buried in that. To be fair, I know Andre. I mean, you don't want you wouldn't want to be in Disney right now, would you?
Not well, unless I was dictator with sole power. No.
Yeah, that'd be a different story altogether. All right, folks, we got one more amazing story that I want to get through, and I know we've run a bit long, and I know some of you've seen that, but let's get to it because I think you'll enjoy it. This one is going to be a little bit more entertaining, unless you have something else to add to the previous story there, Nick.
No.
Miss Marvel, you're not a fan. Not a fan?
No, I didn't watch it. Don't plan on watching it. No interest.
All right, fair enough. Let's see. We covered the strike is over story. What are we missing? Oh, we're missing my favorite character from time gone by. James Bond. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There is a new, or potentially a new, James Bond film on the way, or two, from, as you saw from the picture, Mr. Nolan himself. Christopher Nolan is potentially being tapped to direct. To direct two James Bond films. Did I say Culture Casino films? Same thing. So it's quite possible, but what's the latest Christopher Nolan James Bond rumors? Well, according to a recent report from World of Real, citing an insider post on a forum, Nolan continues to be in talks to potentially direct two Bond films. The director would write both as well. However, the main sticking points in the ongoing discussions center around how much creative freedom Nolan is given on the films. The report mentions that Eon Productions, the production company behind the James Bond series, and Amazon continue to push for Nolan, and that Eon wants a full reboot of the modern era James Bond. However, Nolan would rather make adaptations of the Ian Fleming novels in period settings that stick close to the original source material. Well, of course, they're going to have a problem here. The goal is to get Nolan to do 2 to 3 films and then have him executive produce going forward, reads the report, while also noting that both Eon and Amazon are all in on the idea of Nolan directing the films. Rumors of Nolan directing multiple James Bond films began earlier this month when World of Real also reported that the director had met with longtime Bond producer Barbara Broccoli. That's the daughter of Albert Broccoli, and of course the Wilson family, which owns the other part of the Bond franchise. Interesting. What's funny is a lot of stories that were tangentially tied to this must have gotten some heat because this seemed to have disappeared. But I will ask you, gentlemen. I am a huge Bond fan. I will give you my opinion last. Andre, are you intrigued with the idea of Christopher Nolan directing future Bond projects?
Not until I heard what he wanted to do, that he wanted to do them literal adaptations of the books, period pieces. This is the one thing that you actually can do with James Bond in this day and age. So I say yes, make it so. Give him 100% creative control, because this is one of the cases where he actually has the right idea and the right soldiers do not. So I'm fully with Nolan on this one. I want to see what he can do. This is the one thing that you can do with James Bond. Like, just face it, time has run out for that kind of spy movies as James Bond were. world is no longer like that. There are no longer agents of that type. There are still agents, but not of that type. The only way that you can do it and do it right is to make it period pieces. And I'd love to see more period pieces like that. I mean, just look at like real life crime and stuff like that, and not just the world of there was like during the Cold War. That's war. That's when you had like spies running around and everything. And not only that, in the world of crime, that's where you had like really tough, hardened criminals who were hard men who could dish it out and take it, because that's who rose to the top of the criminal underworld then, as opposed to now when it's computer geeks and nerds. It's just not that interesting. There are
Right.
certain kinds of stories that belong in a certain time frame. And in this chicken shit era we are right now, you can't have something like James Bond. It can't be done right. You need to go period. So I say, now that I heard that, I'm Team Nolan all the way. Go Nolan.
Yeah, that's funny. That's roughly where I land. Nick, what do you think?
I love Christopher Nolan as a director. I like James Bond. I'm not the biggest James Bond fan, but so I don't know all the details about this, but from what Andre just said about him basically doing the book adaptations, God, I wish Disney would have done that with the EU books, moving forward when they took over. So in the book, a lot of people like the books out there. So I would definitely be down for checking out his version of James Bond for sure. I mean, I'd go see it.
I am right with you. And I look, to me, James Bond is of that era. He can only be of that era. And Andre accurately pointed out, we don't have people that do what James Bond does. We don't have people what Jason Bourne does. We don't have those people anymore. I mean, they may be out there, but they're very few and far between. We usually use commandos or other forms of special forces to do these kinds of things, and our intelligence networks are too reliant on electronics rather than
But
on
even
humans.
those, a commando from 20, 30 years ago would beat the shit out of a commando today.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and that's the thing. And a special forces person, a commando, a true special forces commando back in the day, 30 years ago, or back when I considered it, 30 some years ago, those people, they're one man army. They're a one man destructive force, and
Exactly, and they're not that today, not in the same way.
they can
They have also been subjected to reduced requirements, and also you have all this diversity and stuff like that, even into those ranks right there. So even special forces have become. I mean, they're still the hardest of the hard by all means, but they're pussified compared to what they were.
Yeah. And it's a real shame, and it's something that it's something that those are days gone by, and perhaps we'll be there again. I guess the terms have always been the same. Weak times makes wait.
If I may,
Yeah, please.
good times produce weak men.
Yes,
Hard times
that's what it is.
Produce strong men. Strong men produce good times, and then you have the whole circle going right there.
100%. And thank you.
And actually, sorry, carry on.
No, please.
If Nolan were to get his way, if he were to get a period piece done, and it was true to the novel, and in order for it to be true to the novel, you'd have a chain smoking Bond, you'd have a drinking Bond, you'd have you will have a Bond that will open his fist and bitch slap women who he don't like, as Sean Connery actually did in the earlier movies. It would be all kinds of problematic, and it's exactly what would be needed to kind of like get the culture back in a row again, to show this is not what you do. This is not acceptable in real life, but this is something you need to be able to have on screen in a thriving, healthy culture.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it would be wonderful. I think it's a bit of a pipe dream. But if it happens, I think we'll all be better off. The question is, will it happen? And based on the current ownership and how twisted Barbara Broccoli is, I don't know that this would actually be allowed.
This is the issue. This is what has me worried. Because what do you do when it's the owner of the property itself that is the problem? Like, for instance, why hasn't Carl Urban returned to play Judge Dredd anymore? It's the same thing. It's the right holder that is the problem.
True story. And the same thing that happened with Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Like I said, on that note, we are going to wrap up. This is the amazing, your favorite podcast, the HCast. Andre, anything you want to promote on your way out the door, sir?
We have a live stream tomorrow, so check that out. In the meantime, I'm going to push something that we published a while ago, something I'm very proud of, but that's getting suppressed to high heavens, namely our interview with Graham Hancock. Check it out. It now is up to 70,000 views, which is good considering it started with practically nothing because the algorithm decided, oh, we're not pushing that. But yeah, check that out.
Indeed, and it's well worth it. Everything that Midnight's Edge has been doing has been remarkable lately. So thank you, Andre. And of course, Nick, chill stream, buddy?
Yes, chill stream tonight. Thursday night chill stream. But I'm actually going to promote something a little bit different today. My niece, who is 5 years old, who's in Alaska, her dad is actually in the military and has been overseas for the past 6 months, just started Girl Scouts. And so she's this is her first time joining Girl Scouts. Her mom just wanted her to have something to do to meet other people up there in Alaska. So she is selling, like, different kind of mixed nuts and chocolates and candies and that sort of thing. And we are trying to help her reach her goal of $400. And I think she's only $100 away.
Wow.
So if you guys want to help support a military member's little girl, my niece and goddaughter, please check out the link in the comments. I can't post in the link, but I posted it in private chat.
Excellent. Yeah, I think Olaf can do that and already has. Well done. Thank you very much, Olaf, for getting to it. On that note, you can check out my channel, Culture Casino. I am on Rumble Minds, Odyssey, Getter, and obviously YouTube. Do check me out on all platforms. I do and will be posting different things in different locations going forward. Do check in with Midnight's Edge in the morning tomorrow. Andre and everybody do great streams on Fridays. On that note, thanks for being here, everybody. How does the wonderful Mr. H actually end things? I think he says, thank you all for enjoying your favorite podcast. We will see you again live on Tuesday. Don't forget, it's a decent chance Nate will do a chill stream of some sort this weekend. On that note, have a wonderful weekend, everybody, or until we see you again.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.